right, thank you everyone for staying with us here on Global Morning. Let's begin our first conversation today, which has to do with the election, that is the governorship election in Ondo State, scheduled for 16th of next month, which is November, just less than 3 weeks away. We've seen the developments coming out of Ondo State, across the states on account of this election, off-cycle election, immediately following that of Edo State that happened on the 21st of September. There have been conversations around whether or not this particular election for next month will be different in ways that are specific from what we had seen in Edo State. What exactly are the lessons INEC must have learned or is expected to have learned from the exercise in Edo State, and then find very commendable ways to apply those lessons to the conduct of the poll in Ondo States in a matter of less than 3 weeks. But in the middle of all this, we're now seeing very vehement calls for the removal, some people say the redeployment of the resident electoral commissioner in that state. And they say their reason is that the woman in particular, this lady, is so familiar with the terrain. She grew up there, she knows the system there, so she understands the environment so well, and they are afraid it could create the possibility for a compromise. We have seen that happen in a few other states. Even in Edo State, for example, people had said that the electoral commissioner is someone who is cousins with the minister of the FCT, Yeson Wike, who was also governor of Rivers State. As a matter of fact, with regards to Edo State election that was conducted in September, there had also been allegation that the commissioner of police was classmates with the FCT minister. So you had two persons who were said to be tied to the FCT minister on account of that election. Now we're seeing that same element playing out in the case of Ondo. What exactly does this mean for INEC? Because we understand yesterday there was a protest by some group taken to INEC head office here in Abuja, and they were received by a very high official of the commission who said INEC will do everything possible to ensure that this issue is resolved within the ambit of the law in the overall interest of Nigerians, and in particular the people of Ondo State. Joining us to find sense this morning in this conversation is Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, is our own political and security analyst here at Global Television. Prof, again, it's been a while. We last talked on Global Morning, so I'd like to say it's good to see you.
Thank you very much. Welcome from the little break.
Okay. But let's talk about Ondo States. You are very familiar with how elections are conducted in this country, whether it's general election or off-grid, like we are going to have very soon in Ondo States. You also are familiar with what we saw with Edo States. Now Ondo is following almost, just barely 2 months down the line. What exactly are some of those issues that you think should be very concerning for INEC, for government, for politicians, the political parties, their candidates, and the people of Ondo State?
Well, the truth is that we have not been able to put in place what we call political security. And that is worrisome because we have been persisting since 1999 till today, and that is about 25 years. And if we don't have political security, there is no way we are going to get electoral security, which is a sub to political security. Most of these concerns are being expressed because we have not been able to train personnel on political security. But be as it may, since we cannot get everything right on security, or because of the way we started or where we started from, we should look at the present index. I think I would say on the case of Ondo State and the agitation, the resident electoral commissioner, which people are agitating that should be removed or maybe reassigned or whatever, To me, knowing the terrain assists in so many ways. Because if you know the terrain, you will just also know that, okay, there was no vote in this particular place. She is not the collating officer. She's not her main job or duty is to make sure electoral materials reach some places. And if you know the terrain, it makes you know that electoral materials were not deployed to some certain areas. They are not telling us now that she is from the state or she has a reason to compromise or she belongs to one particular party. But if we say the call for sympathy comes in, we will say that all over the world, everybody sympathizes with one party or the other.
Including people like the resident electoral commissioners?
We are all human beings. That I am not participating, I don't belong to a party, really don't mean that I don't love some policies of some parties. I may not vote, but then I will also still have it in mind that I will have, but I will not go to the field to say I want to compromise. But I will say if I was opportune to vote, if I was opportune to do anything, I would have preferred the policy of Mr. A than Mr. B, because this is more enduring. Will not make me to go to the street or goes to utter anything. But that is sympathy in one way or the other, because I have that in-depth feeling that one has more classification than the other, or the policy framework of one other is better than the other. So it really did not mean that I have compromised or have done anything of the ordinary. It's just a case of preference and choice. You cannot hide your choice from any way. You always say, well, I can do anything, otherwise I can corrupt myself, I can do anything, but you still have that in-depth feeling on you. It is normal, psychologically or otherwise normal. We cannot debate that.
I would say the concerns expressed by these people, I mean, given your narrative now, are not valid, because it takes a whole lot of work and, I mean, efforts and resources for people to mobilize a protest. I mean, very peaceful as it was yesterday, to INEC office. Makinde, Shea Makinde, the governor of Oyo State, had also made mention of this same issue. Does that not mean that there's something we're not getting right? Because if people can protest about these things, does that not already indicate that there's a concern that should be addressed? Isn't it just much easier to let the person go and redeploy different? Since somebody already has concern about whether or not the process will be credible, and that in itself naturally would cast doubts on the credibility of INEC.
Well, protest in Nigeria is when it becomes political protest, demeaned to personal interest, not because of general interest. So, are you saying she should be redeployed because she has done something wrong, or she's not acting based on the habit of the laws? Does she compromise the act of INEC? We should look at this in-depthly, because if we continue to say because somebody protests, then we must change, we must effect a change, then we are also going to effect changes every day of our life. Then I have every reason to protest against anybody, then they change that person. So who is going to offer the service if we decide to say we are changing because somebody protests, whether peaceful or not peaceful? We have to look at the protest. Does it have the merit? What are the merits of this protest? or the protest is just politically or just brown because you want somebody who will favor you to be there. You should also look at the case of Edo, when they said the electoral commissioner was his Wike's cousin. I also see that the commissioner of police was
his classmate.
Wike is PDP. Did they debate it in PDP? Do they penalize Wike if truly that allegation is right? So Wike still remain in PDP. He has never crossed over to APC, to the best of my knowledge, as at today. So if he was in APC, then we would said, okay, maybe he has used these people to actually do that. But the Edo people should also understand that the same Wike assisted them in 2020 to bring Obaseki. He supported Obaseki till Obaseki won the election, even when there were still a perimeter of crisis between Obaseki and Adam Oshomole's group. So what are we talking about? So I will not meddle into things that are not, in reality, are not too plain to the people. We have to look at our indices. Assuming Wike is now in APC and they are making this accusation, assuming he was not in support of the candidate of PDP in 2020, which was the Obaseki, then I would have said, okay, maybe he has used some powers to do that, but he remains a member of the PDP. And the PDP has not said, okay, this is anti-party activities. So who am I to come here and say, no, Wike has gotten it wrong? If he has gotten it wrong or that has happened, then they can challenge it within their own party.
When people raise these concerns, Prof, about this person is related to this individual, this other person has ties to this group and all of that, what does this say about not just Nigeria as a country, but our democracy, our electoral process?
I will come to use myself as an example. I have people who are governors today, and maybe ministers, and in some high places. But none of them can come here and say they have ever come to their office for anything. But those who know our relationship before this time would think that we see every other day. Would you now use it as an instrument if I am in a certain position, or to say those people have some influence on me? Or is that presumption I have influence on them? Because it's just, we are just related by blood. We may not have greeted ourselves for the past years, or seen ourselves for the past years, or communicated in any way. So if we are cousins does not make you becoming a minister and a resident electoral commissioner, may not make it possible that we have ever communicated. We are related, we are not against that. And I have schoolmates that we have not spoken for, we know we exist, we have seen, and we have not spoken for over 50 years now. Are you saying that means that they have some influence on me, or I have some influence on them? So people don't know what is called the social index, the political index, those relativities, social, cultural, political, and the rest, economic. So in business, so let's classify these things to say who are those people that are actually close to this person.
Incidentally, like I mentioned at the top of the discussion a while ago, this group that protested to INEC head office yesterday also left a letter stating clearly their demands. What should be INEC's role? I mean, what should be expected from your own assessment and conviction of INEC at this point in time as far as this issue of the wreck in Ondo State is concerned?
You see, I made mention of something where we started this conversation. I said, unfortunately, the security sector has not been trained on what we call political security. If they have been trained on political securities, these are issues that that unit, that setup of the security arm will have been able to dig out and bring positive informations that states what we are just discussing. And if that arm was there, I think there would have not been any protest. But till we grow to the extent of having what we call political security as an arm of security in the security organizations, we still have to remain calm and see how that will come to play. But we are supposed to have political security. Under political security is electoral security, which will evaluate different organs that has to do with thuggery and other factors and acts of criminalities in the electoral process, and bring up policies and frameworks that can be worked with. But be as it may, we don't have that. If you understand, in New York, just some days ago, there was ballot casting and the rest, and the security arm was already having the information of what to do. But here it is a different ball game, because that session of security is not there. And then in that scenario of sending a protest letter to INEC, good. It is the duty of INEC to look at what it is, then look at what the report states. But is it also the duty of INEC to also investigate? No. Suppose we have political security, it will have been their duty to also look deeply into what the accusations, the basis of the protest, the petitions are. I know there is an arm of the SSS or the DSS in INEC, but are they adequately equipped? Are they adequately trained? Have they gotten that retraining of election and political security? The truth is no. So it is the normal training on which everybody have on protection. You don't protect what you don't know. That is just
interesting. Let's move away from the rec factor in Ondo State, and now let's talk about the election itself. Like you and I know, it's an off-cycle election, just like we had in Edo State not too long ago. In the case of Edo, for example, the incumbent governor, who is going to be out of office in a matter of days, was not on the ballots. He was originally on the ballot, but his party had a dog in the fight, as they say, in the person of Dr. Asuego Dalo. Conversely, in those states, the incumbent governor is in the ballots. When you look at these factors, what exactly are what's your sense about it?
Well, Ondo, as I know, has been a state controlled by APC all along. So let me say Ondo is almost an APC state. And you should know APC has been producing the governors for a while now.
Right.
It will actually be very difficult for anybody to just come over to Ondo and said, I want to take over, depending on the body language of the people. Are they ready for critical change? Is there any challenge they are facing that has not been addressed by the present bodies. And if those things are not there, then it will be difficult for anybody to just jump. It's just like you are in your house and the house belongs to you, and somebody is just saying, I want to come and take over the possession of your house. It's a very great fight, unless you just want to give in and say, I'm no longer interested in the house or in the residing in that environment. But for now, they have that major interest, and the sitting governor, the president, is also contesting because we lost they lost the former governor, and he was the deputy and he took over, and now he's the candidate of the APC on this gubernatorial race. I'm very, very sure that the scenario now is the Ondo people still wants to remain on that parallel line, or they are ready to get to another train. So because it's just you are in a train and you want, or another person is saying, come and enter my train. So there is that certitude and uncertainty. Uncertainty that if I'm leaving this train to join the other train, what do I stand to benefit? Is the transport fare lower? Do I trust that train? Does it have a faulty mechanisms? So this should be the thought of every Ondo indigene, because it is very easy for somebody to tell you, I would do better. And you are seeing somebody that is doing maybe not better. So you have that apprehension that if I join this one who tell me I will do better, how am I sure he's going to do better? A very right thinking person will look at the antecedent of the other person, and if the antecedent does not meet the quality of your expectations, because that person is not tested, you would think normally that it is like every other language, political language or so. But one thing is just like a young woman who have a relationship, and the relationship did not work. She look at every man to be the same. So also a young man who has tasted a relationship and the relationship did not work the way he felt it would work out. You will look at every woman as the same. So that is what will be happening to every indigene of Ondo right now. But it is left for them to make a choice, because they know their people and they know who is more closer to them. But in my expectation, are you joining the old train or you are going to a new train? Whichever comes is the best for them.
Incidentally, Prof, it will appear that the candidates of the All Progressives Congress, who, by the way, like I mentioned, is also the incumbent governor of the state, Lakia Idasiwa, has a few headwinds to fight if he must win this election on the 16th. For example, you made a passing reference to his late principal, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, blessed memory. We have not forgotten so soon the battle he also had to fight. I mean, he practically had to fight for his political life at that time, because there were forces against him becoming the acting governor while his former boss was ill somewhere in Oyo State. And then he became the substantive governor over time. However, the people, we are told, have not moved past that incident because of their loyalty to the late governor. And as such, they are not in support of him. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, there are also those who believe that the candidate of the PDP is very popular and is on the ground, like they say in politics. How much of a challenge does that pose for Mr. Aiyedatiwa, the incumbent governor of the state?
Well, just as I said, is a decision of the Ondo people. Two, I said here that if you want to leave the train into the other train, you are living with some kind of uncertainty in your mind.
So you should be ready for risk.
Yeah, so you are taking a risk. How much do I know this person? It's just like when you say, this is my friend, and a lot of people has meanings to what friend means. And from psychological research, I make friend to be something that is free relationship, including enemies, navigating directions. That is friend. So you cannot say that. I don't normally say that is my friend, because among them are same enemies. You are navigating the same direction. So when people say you are stabbed at the back, I laugh at it, because when you said a friend, you also say including enemies. It's a free relationship which include enemies. So in this scenario, he has a lot of work to do, even as a sitting governor. It's not that I'm a sitting governor, I'm going home to relax. No, he has a work to do, because there was a video just 2 weeks or so ago I watched where in UK he was being dragged by a woman or so. So there are these things that happens during politics. And when you are in the corridor of power, a lot of temptations come in, because it's just an angular thing. This is the shape of an angle, which from the bottom is wide, and as you are going up, it becomes trimmed down till it gets to an edge. Who gets to that edge? Everybody wants to be number one. So if you want to become the number one, what will you do? You have to. So the other people who are among the gladiators, I call them gladiators, they are also trying to see how they climb that angle to the peak of the angle. So it is left still the people choice who is closer to us. There are simple dynamics that makes them closer to you. Are you closer to the people? It's not just getting a big name, but how much have you done to be close to the people? People, I used to say, see people say Abuja politician. Good. Why do they say Abuja politician? You are in Abuja for 3 years plus, and you go back to contest. The people don't even know you. You go and spend time with the people during the period of campaign. But if you are a grassroots politician, because people are getting more aware, more knowledgeable, more sensitized to know that this is not where we want to go, because this person just come in and breathe out. This person has been here with us. He experienced our pain, he felt it, he sympathized with us, he has empathy on us. But so those kind of awareness, and politics is for the people. So they're also looking at who do we trust. Have you made them believe in you? Because it starts with people believing in you, having some kind of confidence in you before they can say they trust you. So you should also know that giving you a vote is an act of trust. And it is your responsibility to also pay back. I'm not giving trust because of anything. It's also because I know you are going to pay back that trust. So it's trust given and taken.
Like a two-way traffic.
Yeah, it's not just one way. So it makes you to stay in your home when you come back and you said, I hope, madam, there was anything for us in the house. They said, no, there is something. I have done this, I have done that. And you appreciate it more as a man. And maybe when your wife is not around, before she comes in, you just say, no, I have done this, I have done that. There's this smile in the face. So if you are a politician and they gave you that trust, they accord you, you should be able to know that service must be delivered. Because you are the servant of the people. That is what we should know. That you are a servant of the people because they entrust everything to you. They gave you their life. They are citizens, and their human right is covered as the chief security officer of the state. Their businesses and economic is in your palm. Their political agitation, ideology, policies, acts are within you. The crime, environmental, security processes are under your privy. Industrial security is under your privy. Everything is under your privy within the state. So you have to come out and say, this is the service I am going to deliver. You are not a lord over them. Most of our people look at it that it is a process to lord over the people. Whereas you came in through the people. If everybody decides to sleep at home, you will not be where you are. Because your vote alone and that of your wife and children will not make you a governor or an executive of a state. So you should know that you made some commitment, you made some promises, and you have to fulfill them because it's an obligation.
All right, and the final note as we leave now, you have mentioned the term political security a couple of times in the course of this conversation. You recall that during the last local government election in River State, policemen were not deployed. Some people say it was for political reasons. That election was conducted without the traditional presence of police, so we have the conventional police presence on the ground. There's now the school of thought that, who knows, maybe it's time we took a look at the possibility of not deploying police for election. Maybe we need to devise a different means, a strategy that is altogether different for securing an electoral process, for providing security on election day instead of deploying police as we have had for decades in this country. What's your thoughts in that direction?
I have spoken about this and presented papers about this many a times, that if we have trained a setup of the intelligence on political security, we don't need any arm carrying police or whatever on election days. Because within the wards where these polling booths are placed, everybody knows each other. So have we been able to be trained on grassroots policing, neighborhood policing? No. We jump to community policing, which is a wider area, but that is not a discussion for today. So if you look at it, everybody coming for the election, because there is a restriction of movement within some hours, it is somebody known within the locality. You can't have lived another locality to another locality on a day set aside for election where there is no movement. So they know each other. So if you allow it to be, that is not, politics is no longer a lucrative business, and you have been able to train certain members who are trained on political security, then there will be no need for those crises. There is also engineering security or technological security that has to do with the election. So I can tell you that, okay, I will be sitting here in Abuja and I can monitor what is happening in a larger in Ondo state, for example, or in Ikole. So, but how many people have this kind of technology, and how have we been able to deploy it?
Right.
The answer is no. So you can actually have a violent-free election in Nigeria, because what I just do is to play out what has happened in one of those polling booths without necessarily going there. But we are not set to get there yet.
That's quite interesting. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, for coming to share with us this morning. I've been speaking with Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, his global television, political and security analyst, taking our time to look at the developments coming out of Ondo State in light of the gubernatorial election scheduled for the 16th of November. Kikanama Okere, our own correspondent, is on the ground there, bringing us bit by bit information as to how the whole event is unfolding into the D-Day, which is on the 16th of November, and under the Global Television will also open its live studios to bring you a very critical analysis of the development and, of course, where the whole event is heading. We're taking a quick break. When we return, we'll turn our attention to value-added tax and what 19 northern governors are now saying about this new move by the President Bola Tinubu-led administration.